Hi guys, Jen here with Astrology and Earth Magic. Today I'm going to give some astrological wisdom to help us get the most from the full moon in Capricorn. Now this is coming up on July 10th, that's this Friday, 4:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to be at the 18th degree, 50 minutes of Capricorn, and that's going to be the full moon. So it's a reflection really on who you were, who you've become, and the journey along the way. So we've had quite a last few days here in the United States. We knew that this weekend was going to be a volatile one and unsettled, and it was, to say the least. So really, one major event was the unfathomable happen when just these sudden floods came up and just took the lives of so many people down in Texas. Over 100, I think I've heard at the last count. So many of them were children, and a lot of people are still missing. So it's just horrifying. And the floodwater started rising about 4 a.m. or so on the 4th, and we had Venus conjunct Uranus, and that was at the 29th degree, which is the critical degree. So you know something is bound to happen. Just really, that's that Uranus, that's just setting something up, something quick, and these waters came up very quick. We also had Neptune at a standstill and getting ready to station retrograde in a conjunction with Saturn. So it's, and both of course were squaring Jupiter still. So that is just coming out of the banks, the floods, tons of water. That's that Neptune with Jupiter in Cancer. And that's that, like I said in that video, coming together from tragedy. And then the tragedy comes from the water that is just coming through the riverbanks, which is that Saturn Neptune, that pushing boundaries, that dissolving boundaries, and Saturn trying to keep the boundaries. So astrology spells it out, but you don't know how it's going to happen. And also we had unrest down at the border, lots of stuff going down in Texas with the border agents. And that's that Saturn and Uranus moving into Gemini at that last critical degree. Right before it goes into Gemini, something's going to happen. People start getting desperate. We had shots at the agents, and the shooter was then killed. So we see at that 29th degree where those people, or anyone gets affected, something's bound to happen. And there's that unrest, there's that uncontrol. Now we are coming to this climax with Capricorn full moon. So this climax can it's to gain kind of a certain amount of responsibility and maturity and notoriety. Capricorn is all about, having good work ethic and just being that person that you can rely on, especially when it comes to like in a job performance type thing. Capricorn is mind over heart. So it's opposite of Cancer, where you go with the gut, where you're more nurturing, more family oriented, and you go by intuition. Now Capricorn goes with its head. Again, it's more focused on that kind of like, what they can achieve in life, focuses on practicality and control to drive forward towards success. So it's a very ambitious sign, and almost at times to a fault. So while we have this critical climax happening, you take a look back just to see how you've gotten where you are, and are you happy? Have responsibilities been focus on one thing? Is it mainly on your career or your job or something like that, and you're kind of letting go of maybe others are feeling a little bit neglected, maybe your home life is being a little bit neglected because you're putting so much effort into your career and kind of building your reputation in that way? Or have you just been too overzealous, taking on too much responsibilities to pretty much prove yourself, to prove I can do it, I can do this, and yes, give it to me, and you're not wanting to delegate anything, and you're aiming too high, but it's leaving you overwhelmed, overworked, and mistakes are being made. So when you look at this full moon, did you climb, and did you succeed because you did things the proper way? That Saturn with practicality, with a little bit of self-control, or did you just try and climb too fast and things kind of got out of control? So take this waning period. Now we're going to start going, the other way, this period as a time of self-reflection. So with the waning period, we go a little bit inward instead of, outward reflecting, to kind of like in retrospect, looked into ourselves to see, are you confident? Are you filled with pride over your accomplishments? And is there some regret? So, well, that's what you want to think about. It's a good time because Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is going to station retrograde on the 13th, so 3 days after. So just as we're starting to wane down, it's really holding firm at this 1 degree of Aries. So kind of stationing in on that 1 degree of kind of just getting that kickstart and going forward. But wait a minute, we're gonna kind of pause here for a little bit. And this retrograde joins Neptune, who's been since the 4th of July, so last Friday, and Pluto, who's been since May 4th. So we have those currently in retrograde. Saturn about to go into retrograde, Mercury currently in its pre-shadow period, ready to go retrograde on the 18th, and then the last one, the pretty much last day of July, we have Chiron on the 30th going direct. So a lot of, with Neptune, with Saturn, like introspective, self-healing, going within to really look inside ourselves, do a lot of critical thinking and seeing, are we proud of ourselves? Are we proud of what we've done? Or do we need to make some changes the next time around as we come waning down? So when we start again with our next new moon, what is our goal going to be there? We'll be doing a whole video on all these retrogrades on Friday, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. So be sure to subscribe and get notified. Lots going on there. Saturn can represent the old man. So it's kind of that wise, that guru who passes on his wisdom and his quips to his students. So it's, if you know that older person, maybe you had a grandfather that told funny stories and tried to teach you things. My husband talks about his grandfather all the time, and that he taught him how to chop wood with an axe, and there was a special way to do it that made it so easy, and he tries over and over to do it. So it's little things that you learn and that you've developed, and different little things that could be something like that. It could be wisdom you've gained from a book, but wisdom that you've gained, it's as Saturn is slowing down, we're stopping to take some time to just pause and regroup and reflect. Again, reflect on how you've built to where you are, and do you want to continue on this? Do you want to continue building, or do you want to start fresh again? And just really using that wisdom of the past and going back to see, how things have worked out is really at this critical moment right now. Saturn is also a point of karma. So again, in retrospect, you'll see that you might not have been too good, or maybe you haven't been too honest. Maybe you haven't been very ethical. It can come back just savagely. So, hi Pix. He wants to be in the video. So just looking back might be difficult, because think about, take again this horrific floods that we had in Texas. So I'm sure these people are going to be looking back in retrospect to say, like, what went wrong? How can we fix this going forward? Should we change something, stop something? I'm sure the town people, county people, and of course the state leaders, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to figure out what went wrong. I know a lot of people are, with the weather service, and, were there cuts in the weather service? What happened? Like, what happened here that allowed this to happen, or not allowed it to happen? Because, weather tragedies do happen, but so quickly without warning that all these people were killed and not evacuated, or maybe they were warned and they didn't pay attention. Who knows? Nobody, I don't know. But this is when you look back in retrospect, because you want to fix things. So, people are placing blame, they're pointing fingers. Of course, that's always what happens, because people want to figure out, why did this happen? Were corners cut? Again, ignored warnings. Did they keep this camp open to keep up appearances because they wanted to keep the money flowing in? Or was it just a horrible thing, a horrible tragedy that just happened and there was really nothing you could do about it? You just don't know. But again, maybe we'll learn from this and learn what needs to be done in the future to help prevent disaster. Sorry about that. My cat is deciding that he wants to play with my stand. So, as the saying goes, and those who don't remember the past are destined to repeat it. So instead of all the finger pointing, let's see how to better move forward to really learn from the past. And I think a great quote that I found, it was Mark Twain, and it says, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes." So I love this, because as an astrologer, and others astrologers know, that astrologers look back, they look for patterns, they look for themes and events and things that maybe we've learned lessons from, things that have happened with past transits, with past conjunctions, things like that, and how we can predict what's going to happen. And this is a lot of times how astrologers predict and make predictions, because say with this Uranus into Gemini transit, we've had in the United States, every transit has had a major war. The 3 major wars in the United States have been with this transit. So you can kind of try and predict that, okay, maybe something horrible is going to happen. And that's, again, if you look into a lot of my past videos, that's what I do. You look back in retrospect, you look for themes, you look for, different patterns, different cycles, different things that happen over and over again, the repetition each time, and that's how you can predict going forward. So, overall though, this chart for this full moon is not bad. The Jupiter square to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is separating, and, the retrogrades are really keeping those outer planets within like a degree of each other with sextiles and trines. So it looks like if we keep a level head and a positive outlook, things are going to be good going forward. This is the big picture. These are the outer planets. This is the big picture in the future. Things are rough now, but they are in these nice sextiles and trines with each other. And so, we have this forward progress now stalling because everything's going into retrograde, and but we can take this time really again to be thankful of what we've learned, thankful of how we've grown and how we've matured, and how we can move forward and even pass this knowledge on to others. And that's again what, with a waning period, that's what you do. You pass the information that you've gained and help others to move forward as well. This is a time to focus on your long-term goals. This is Saturn, so this is that the very last planet before the outer planets. This is like far out long-term goals. This isn't just like something quick. This is career advancement, working towards it, maybe taking on more responsibility at work, and little by little you start building. Maybe it's planning your future, maybe in the form of budgeting so that you can eventually buy a home someday. It really matters, where you have this falling in your chart. And so wherever you have Capricorn in your chart, mine's in my first house, maybe it's just working on myself to be a better person in the long run and going forward. And if you have it in your 4th house, maybe it is you want to buy a home someday. 5th house, maybe having kids someday. So these are the things, look at where it falls in your chart, and you'll see what this could mean for you. Where is this pattern of growth going to be? Or what have you learned in these last couple weeks to move forward and to use in your life and to maybe help others going forward? So again, be mindful, be practical, and just learn from your past mistakes. Don't regret, rehabilitate, make things better. Use the calm of the summer. If you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but I've gotten steadily sweatier and more disgusting as I've done this video, and it has not been that long. But this is the time to just kind of go in and just calm. You don't want to do a lot of moving around because it's hot, because it's steamy. It's super steamy here. And just get back to that healing. Just do some relax, maybe do yoga instead of go for a run, or, something like that, just to get some introspective to, just kind of go inside, go internal, and just think a little bit, get that wisdom that you need to move forward. So that's all. Remember to like and subscribe, and definitely get notified, because our next new moon is not going to be so gentle, I don't think. This is in Leo, and it is opposite Pluto. So you want to stay tuned for that, and you want to stay tuned for the retrograde video coming up, so you kind of know what to plan on. So I will see y'all soon. Bye.